Well, hey, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. I have a little story for you all today, and I'm going to flip this around. So here is my little garden, my little oasis. Oh my goodness, I spend a lot of time out here. Whoa, I spend a lot of time out here just kind of hanging out, doing the gardening, taking care of all of the little plants. Oh my goodness, this is a foxglove. This is a lupine. Oh my Lord, it smells so good. Oh, it's so nice. And check, oh my gosh, my daylilies right now. I love these little succulents down here. Hello, pretty guys. Look at this daylily. Oh my Lord. It is going. So, some of you may know that my partner is a gardener. And so, sometimes when he needs plants for other gardens for his clients, he will sneak back here into what I think of as my garden and he will snatch a plant. Now, what's been interesting is we've had various conversations about this, like, hey, can you tell me when you're going to be taking plants? Can you check with me about what plants you're going to take? All these different things, all these different conversations. And so I have this attachment, right? So I'm here, I put in my little time and effort, I spend my energy on, the garden, and and so I form these little relationships and attachments to these plants. And so the other day, he had a client coming up and needed to, he needed to take some plants. And so I was kind of watching, okay, which ones are you taking? Which ones are going? And there was this little succulent garden that I had kind of created by the front door, this little grouping of succulents. And as we're talking, he reaches in and he pulls out this whole stalk of succulents, and I just burst into tears. I was like, don't do that. Why are you taking my plants? Super upset, legit, crocodile tears, upset, crying, what are you doing? Oh my God, please leave my plants alone. Stop taking my plants. And true to form, he just smiles at me and he says, okay, I think this might be a disproportional response. So he's learned a lot from listening to me coaching my clients, in which we talk about this, right? We have these moments of disproportional response, something's going on and we can just feel it and see it, that our reaction to the moment isn't quite in alignment with the actual threat of the experience. And so I go inside the house and I just take a couple of breaths and I'm like, Rachel, what is going on? Why are you so upset about this? And I'm starting to engage from him, but still a little bit from this place of activation. I'm like, you just don't listen. I'm telling you not to take the plant, and you're just taking the plant anyway, and you're not respecting my choices. And as soon as I'm saying these things, I'm starting to notice oh, this is history. This is from back in the day moments when I would feel like my choices were ignored or that I didn't have any choice. So dried my tears. I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. How about the backyard is off limits? And I just need to know what area of the garden you're going to take plants from going forward. So we found a nice little compromise. Okay, so I want to read you a little something. This is part of our work in healing, is learning how to slow down these reactions. Notice I didn't say stop the reactions, okay? We can certainly decrease how often we have reactivity, and we can decrease how long we stay stuck in it, okay? So I can tell you, decades ago, I would have those kinds of moments, those kinds of reactions and reactivity and disproportional responses, like multiple times a day. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And of course, they were really high escalations. They were really intense. I didn't even know how to get out of them. So I was just in these constant states. And so our job really is to learn how to recognize these moments, right? When we're having, a disproportional response to something that's going on in our life, how to slow down, pause. And thankfully, I have a lovely partner who most of the time is able to actually support me in that, right? Like he can use his, what are called mirror neurons, to help me slow down, and vice versa. Like when he gets into his stuff, I can help him slow down. And I want to read you a little something. This is from the book Mindsight. That'll probably be reversed, but anyway, by Dan Siegel. Check it out. Given the number of synaptic connections, the brain's possible on-off firing patterns, its potential for various states of activation has been calculated to be 10 to the millionth power, or 10 times 10, 1 million times. This number is thought to be larger than the number of atoms in the known universe. It also far exceeds our ability to experience in one lifetime even a small percentage of these firing possibilities. As a neuroscientist once said, the brain is so complicated, it staggers its own imagination. The brain's complexity gives us virtually infinite choices for how our mind will use those firing patterns to create itself. If we get stuck in one pattern or the other, we're limiting our potential. Okay, let's break that down. Let's pause there for a minute. So, what I love about this is what's being named is the brain is comprised of these neurons. And because there are so many neurons, the ways in which these neurons can connect is, in some ways, it just feels like infinite. Like when I hear like 10 to the millionth power, more than the atoms in the whole universe, it's infinite. So the different things that can cause a specific firing pattern in the brain to start off, like there's just a multitude. And sometimes it's like the stars have to be perfectly aligned. It's sort of like there could have been another day where I walked out and he was taking those plants and I would have been like, cool, babe, have a great day. Love you. See you. Bye. Right? But for whatever reason, that day, the firing patterns said no. It got interrupted and connected, and like it traced back to a historical place of like feeling like my choices were being overridden. I didn't have any say. So this is just important to normalize for ourselves. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to eradicate all triggering. I'm going to get rid of every single thing that sets me off. Like, good luck, like don't set that as your goal. That's just not the goal. Okay. Because again, the brain can fire in so many multitude of ways and set off so many different kinds of reactions. So again, our goal is to recognize, slow down, and intercede. Check this out. Patterns of neural firing are what we are looking for when we watch a brain scanner light up as a certain task is being performed. What scans often measure is blood flow. Since neural activity increases oxygen use, an increased flow of blood to a given area of the brain implies that neurons are firing there. Thanks for hanging with me. I keep stumbling. Research studies correlate this inferred neural firing with specific mental functions, such as focusing attention, recalling a past event, or feeling pain. Okay, so just imagine that my brain was being scanned in this moment of me bursting into tears about my plants. Okay, what we would have probably seen was an abundance of limbic firing with increased blood flow to my irritated amygdala and a diminished flow to my prefrontal areas as they began to shut down. Sometimes, as happened that day, the out-of-control firing of our brain drives what we feel. how we perceive what is happening, and how we respond. Once my prefrontal region was offline, this is what starts to happen when the amygdala is activated, the firing patterns from throughout my subcortical regions would dominate my internal experience and my interactions with my lover. But it's also true that when we're not traveling down the low road, we can use the power of our mind to change the firing patterns of our brain and thereby alter our feelings, perceptions, and responses. This is the piece here where we really want to tune in. One of the key practical lessons of modern neuroscience is that the power to direct our attention has within it the power to shape our brain's firing patterns, as well as the power to shape the architecture of the brain itself. Okay, so this is really, really good news, right? In my life, when I had an entrenched, stuck pattern of everyone is a threat, there's always danger, people are always going to take advantage of me. That was my focus. That was where I put my attention. And this was the kind of the stuck firing that was happening in my brain. Of course, that was impacting my feelings, perceptions, and responses. And so as I began to work, not in the moments of activation, but later, right? This is really key, right? When he says, when we are not traveling down the low road, okay? Low road meaning the limbic system, the reptilian brain, the amygdala. Then when we do active exercises to teach the brain to fire differently, it helps us in these other moments to reduce how often and then to what intensity. So as I learned and worked and started to retrain the brain, literally retraining the brain, reshaping the brain, with things like I'm an adult, I have choice, I'm empowered, I'm not at the mercy of others, then the frequency of the moments in which I would fall into that trap, if you will, fall into that neuronal pattern and firing of I'm at the mercy of others or I'm not safe, just decreased. So much so to the point where, it's very, very seldom that will get pinged for me, but it can still get pinged, like the other day. Okay? And so, and then in those moments, being able to use interventions to bring the brain back online, to get perspective, to shift the attention, to shift the focus, and to move, through that state of activation. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all today because, I just want you to have so much grace and so much love and so much compassion for yourselves, right? The brain does all sorts of fascinating, interesting things. But this neuroplasticity, the pliability of the brain really gives us so much, space and room to heal and to have different experiences and to have grace and compassion for ourselves when we drop into an old firing pattern, but to again take care of ourselves to move through it as quickly and easily as possible. So, one final look at one of my favorite little sections of the garden over here. Check them out. And I'll leave you with a little close-up of the beautiful salvias. Aren't they just super cute? All right, y'all. Have a great Monday. I'll see you again soon.